creepy. Creepy. This is from last week. Gets off his bike, starts sniffing a little girl's hair. Here we go again. Give me a little girl. Let me sniff your hair. I'm the president. I'm a greasy old zipperhead. Pervert. I'm a boy. Let me sniff your hair. I'm sniff your hair from Delaware.
Kaylee.
What?
And I had a terrible headache. Excuse me, a terrible headache.
Yeah.
And,
it's a very old head. No wonder it aches.
I had a terrible headache. This is years ago. And I did a very stupid thing. When I came to office, I reversed the policies of my predecessor.
What?
To respond to the pandemic, including donating more than 1 million doses of COVID-19
What?
to the West Bank and Gaza.
Huh?
I'm driving this thing, all right? Hunter's behind me. That's the way it always works. We're a team. We're like a mullet. Business in the front, party in the back.
So we're all in agreement here. Keep it in the family. Hunter Biden 2024. The slogan could be the Biden you can trust to make it to the top of the stairs.
In the western mountains of China and for global initiative, the global infrastructure, we had a good discussion. Is this inconsistent with who we are? No one's ever wondered if I mean what I say. The question is, I sometimes say all that I mean. I just answered your question. Do I regret it? I don't regret anything that I said.
She's right.
What?
How am I supposed to get anything done with all these things happening? Trying to make gas prices go down, but they're going up. That's opposite, man. And get the global warming thing happening, but it's too hot. It's too hot. And what happened? J-Lo just married Ben Affleck? Who saw that coming? Right? I thought he was gay married to Matt Damon.
Oh, I hear a rumble now. It's gone. Doobie-doobie-doo. Whoa, 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 whoa. Put on the brakes, put on the brakes. Welcome, welcome, boys and girls, children of all ages, hoofties, pufties, bung-eyed heifers, right and left wing wackos, woodchucks and chuckettes, kings and queens of the Northeast Kingdom. And little dogs, too. It's an emergency outside. It's a heat emergency, so we had to bring in the nutcases. But she's well behaved, for the most part. She just loves looking at herself in the monitor. I don't know what it is. It's a dog thing. Anyways, who are we? Where are we? You are watching It's News to Us. Thanks, Philo. In the booth, we have Philo T. Farnsworth, the College of Musical Knowledge, drummer extraordinaire. You can see his YouTube drum videos. And, yeah, wave to the audience. There he is. We keep him locked in the booth, slide a pizza under the door every now and then.
I got a face made for radio.
Yeah. Anyways, who are we? Well, yeah, you can see his YouTube videos at Terry DeFazio on YouTube. And you are watching It's News to Us, where Newport Shoulders TV News Wonders new. Here Neil Brown Chaos Logo say, oh, that's not supposed to be there. These are some websites you can find out some good stuff. Leave that alone. No, that's not a toy. Anyways, nope, that's not supposed to be there either. That's their Cadaver in Chief Joe. And, here he is right here. Senile agitation. It's getting obvious now. But the drums are beating for his removal, and it's not because he's old or he's senile. They can cover up that and tolerate that. But the corruption drums are getting louder because they're looking at the trail of graft and grift that he's had. Like Harry Truman said, man, if you come to Washington penniless and you leave rich, you're crooked, you know? And remember what Nixon say, Philo?
I am not a crook.
Yeah, people have a right to know if their president's a crook. And I'm not a crook.
Just ask me, I'll tell you. And just by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it's not my drums that are beating for Joe.
Yeah.
No way. No.
So beware of the Bronte's invisible sky god. Going to beat you and forgive you. We got adult themes and adult language. Not really, but I have to tell you anyways, just in case one slips out. And boy, oh boy, if we got a bunch of news this week. And Max under the desk. We're going to have to just check on him, make sure he's breathing every now and then. Are you going to behave? Are you going to behave? You promised me you'd behave. This dog is just full of crap. She's very exuberant. She's a good... Remember, inside every Jack Russell is a good dog trying to get out. But let's see. Did you see AOC get arrested for blocking traffic in front of the Supreme Court yesterday?
No, tell me about that one.
Oh, good grief, man. Yeah, she put on she pretended that they handcuffed her. They didn't handcuff her. You can see her. She's walking with her hands behind her back, and so were the other squad members. I call them the squat, not the squad. She's walking with her hands behind her back. There's a cop behind her, and then she raises her fist in solidarity. And the same thing with that other wacko nutjob Muslim woman there. What the hell's her name?
Joan Baker. That's a Muslim name, isn't it?
Yeah, the old Hakim farm up on the hill. It was the Tlaib woman. I think she was there. Ayanna Pressley, the bald negress who's getting really fat lately. She was there. She got arrested too. But it's just wild stuff, man. You come up here and stay with Daddy, Missy. Come here. Get up here. Anyways, that was funny. So she's pretending she's handcuffed, and so were the other ones too. And then she got heckled. They had some Hebrew kid who has a blog or some TV show or something, YouTube show. He's up on the Capitol steps and he's saying, "Oh yeah, look, he's doing a selfie with his phone, and he's there's AOC, my big booty Latina. You look at that booty. Ooh, she's in a dress." And what kills me is her fiance is right behind her. He's walking up the steps with her $2,000 French bulldog, right? And he doesn't say anything. You know, I mean, you can bet your bippy. I'm not a violent person, but you can bet your bippy. If someone was catcalling my girlfriend like that, or my fiance, even worse, I wouldn't go, hey, hurt the guy or hit the guy, but I'd be right up in his grill, mister. That guy would, he'd know better. He can't do that. I mean, the guy has he's a beta male, you know? He's a pajama boy. That's who she's getting married to. Oh, God bless her. It's a big world. There's an ass for every chair. And then last week she was so she was complaining. She's all waving to the camera and stuff during the incident, right? And then afterwards she thinks about it for a couple hours and she starts coming down on the Capitol Police. Well, there's a First Amendment thing because the guy was just, talking at her. He didn't harm her or threaten her in any way. So the Capitol cops are standing right there. They didn't do anything. She starts coming on. They didn't do anything. And she says, "Who opened the Capitol doors? Who did it on January 6th? Who opened the doors and let them right in?"
Crying out loud! Stop that. That was
dare
very
you.
loud.
And so we got some more stuff too, man. And did you know that John Kerry, so far flying around the world on his private jet, Philo, he's spewed out 325 metric tons of carbon dioxide. 325 metric tons.
Her sniffing sounds good.
I can barely hear you. What?
Her sniffing sounds really good.
Yeah, come on, Sniffy. That's enough. And so there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. Oh, and the National Education Association, they ditched the word mother.
And now we have a birthing person.
Yeah. What these people are out of their minds, and they wonder why.
They got nothing better to do than to be a pain in the butt.
And they wonder why people are leaving the Democratic Party in droves.
Well, they should. They should leave both parties.
And Speaking of white privilege, I guess people are being attacked by great white privilege sharks, Philo.
I've seen those sharks too. Yeah, great white privilege sharks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
they're drinking a martini, wearing an ascot.
Yeah, smoking a joint.
Yes, you are.
But they did. But they don't inhale. No, they don't inhale. Right.
And hypocrisy of all hypocrisies, the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, the guy who's like a snake, he smiles all the time. If you watch this guy, he smiles when he speaks, he smiles when he's not speaking. He's just like a snake or a lizard. He has this permanent smile. So anyways, while Uncle Joe is on his put on his knee pads and was begging the Saudis to produce more oil, Newsom goes to the White House to get a Excellence in Education Award, Philo.
No kidding.
Yeah, for the
what's-
California schools. And you know what number, where California places on the chart for school performance?
It's probably about halfway down, isn't it?
No, worse, dead last.
Huh.
California is dead last in outcomes for education.
Because I know it used to be Mississippi and Alabama.
Yeah. But I guess even, oh man. Well, you've got 1/3 of the people out there who are not citizens and can't speak English. You know?
But you'd think with all the Asians that they have over there, it would raise things up because they're pretty brilliant people, you know?
Yeah, you would think.
There are a lot of immigrant Asians. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
And they come in the legal way.
mostly in San Francisco.
Yep.
Well, it's a big Asian community in L.A. Yeah, so he gets the education award. Yep. And the European Union came out, and we told you that Russia shut off their gas for 10 days for maintenance, and they reclassified natural gas as sustainable now.
Huh.
Ah,
Fancy that, will you?
funny how things work out when you need them. Oh, shut up. And so, and how many people know that the Supreme Court of Wisconsin ruled that the 2020 election was illegal? And yesterday, there's a court case in Arizona where Mike Lindell, if you go to www.frankspeech.com, Mike Lindell, hi, I'm Mike from hell, and just like you, I had trouble sleeping. Well, except in my case, I was a crack addict, so I couldn't sleep. That guy, the My Pillow guy, he's bringing these voting machines to court, and anyways, there's a case in Arizona. The judge agreed to hear the case yesterday on 7/20. Yeah, and how come they can in Canada they can count the votes by hand and have the results within 12 hours, and in France they've got 80 million people in France, and they can have a complete vote count by hand using paper ballots with voter ID for everyone. And in France, they have 80 million people, and they come out with the results in 8 hours, flat, boom, done.
Well, that's because we have so much diversity here.
Yeah, diversity of machines.
Yeah, and we have all of this, and we have to. Everybody has to be gender identified. And blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Drop your pants, and you're gonna get a short arm inspection before you can vote.
Yep. Right arm, right arm, right arm.
Yeah, right arm, left nut. Oh, and in New York State too, in order to get a tattoo, even if you have parental consent, you can't get a tattoo if you're a minor. But thanks to the laws they just passed, you can get puberty blockers and surgery without any parental consent at all.
And probably an abortion too.
Yeah. It's
but
crazy.
But a tattoo, oh, that's a health risk right there. That's a huge health risk.
Yeah. And get this. Biden's complaining about, the Putin price hike, and they're withholding all this grain in the Ukraine, And so I started digging around. I said, this just doesn't seem kosher. Well, I guess if the gas prices are going down, Putin ought to get the credit, right? So anyways, according to the USDA, get this. Now, mind you, the Ukrainians have mined, not the Russians, the Ukrainians have put mines in the Black Sea, okay? They've mined the Black Sea ports. Putin came out, he said he'll ensure the safety for civilian vessels. Now, our USDA says that Ukraine has 6 million tons of wheat in silos and 7 million tons of corn. Okay? Now you think that's a lot of wheat and corn, right? Right? Sounds like a lot. Well, global production is 800 million tons. And we're talking about 13 million tons, and this is affecting the world market. Something doesn't pass the smell test here. And mind you, Ukraine can pull up their mines. They know where they are. They all have GPS units. They put GPS tracking on them when they drop the mines in the Black Sea. But they can also ship they can ship it out of the ports, or they can transship them by rail through Belarus, Poland, and Romania. And Kiev is controlling this, or Kyiv as they call it now, because the Russians have, but it's been called Kiev since time immemorial, but, now you got to call it Kyiv as if it were Steve. This is insane. You got to change the language. Anyways, they're controlling it. And meanwhile, we dropped sanctions on Russian ammonium nitrate fertilizer. We banned it for a while. And then when they realized that, hey, it's planting season, these people need fertilizer, and if we cut back on the Russian stuff, we'll really have a global food shortage. So we dropped sanctions. The U.S. dropped sanctions on Russia, ammonium nitrate, and but the European Union still has them. And according to the UN, the West is refusing to honor earlier commitments. Go figure. Now, part of this stuff, I mentioned this last week with Sri Lanka, the countries that are going down the drain by trying to go immediately to organic farming, immediately going to eliminating fossil fuels and power plants and stuff like that. The countries that are circling the bowl are Sri Lanka, which is practically dead now, South Africa, Ghana, a couple others, and but what they've done is they've gone to this new ESG score. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance, where these big firms like BlackRock and they're what do you call them? They're not like trust funds or whatever. They're some kind of where people investors get together, and they said that they will only invest in countries that have high ESG scores. Well, the countries that are having high ESG scores are the ones that are circling the bowl and having power blackouts. And in Sri Lanka, they stopped using ANF, and their yield on their rice crops immediately dropped down to nothing. So it's insane. It's just gone.
Want to hear another good one, Steve?
Sure.
California has been pushing for electric cars. Now they have so many electric cars, they can't recharge them fast enough because they don't have enough electricity. Their grid won't handle it, and everybody gets up in the morning and they plug their car in, and it's not enough time to recharge them.
You should see Alfred E. Buttigieg.
Oh, Alfred E. Newman?
Yeah, Alfred E. Newman Buttigieg.
On crack, maybe.
He was testifying in front of Congress yesterday. You should see he was going on. We will just have to feel the pain unless you can afford an electric vehicle. So they were grilling him. A couple of Republicans, in the old days when each member of each party member got to question. Anyways, the Republicans were grilling him, and the guy had they had charts and figures and said, like, look, to charge an electric vehicle, it's like having 7 or 8, 10 refrigerators in your house. Now, what's going to happen when everybody has this? He says, well, today's grid won't handle it. Well, we're using yesterday's grid. That's what he said. Yesterday's grid won't be able to handle it. Well, I'm sorry, but we're using yesterday's grid. It's like, think about this. How come we haven't seen any more, come here, baby. We haven't seen any more solar panel installations. There were more solar panel installations under Trump than there are under Biden. We still have the tax incentives, right, Philo?
Yeah, Vermont has a lot of solar panels all over the state. I've seen them.
Yeah, but you haven't seen any go up lately, right?
Oh, well, I keep discovering more and more as I travel.
Yeah, you see them, the ones that you didn't notice before.
Yeah.
Me too. But what happens is we've saturated the grid. The power companies have said, look, you can't, we can't take any more. So hence we're not seeing any more solar panels because of the crappy ass grid. Now, if we could, I thought that was one of the things that was part of the American Rescue Plan, was we had billions of dollars that are unspent because they're supposed to be used to upgrade the grid. And it didn't, and it didn't seem to, the spending never quite hit the ground. So, I mean, we could be putting up more solar panels, and we should, especially on days like today, when somebody like Ray's house generates a boatload of power for the 5 or 10 neighbors next to him that are running air conditioning units. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but one of our local representatives said, isn't it something we come up with all this technology to produce all this power, but we haven't upgraded the infrastructure that can handle it, which is kind of silly.
Yeah, where's Vermont Electric Co-op?
Yep.
Where's Green Mountain Power?
Yep. Or
I mean,
Central Vermont down where I used to live, which would be Central Vermont. Yeah. Where are they?
We need to upgrade the grid. We need bigger, larger diameter lines, okay, and we need bigger and better transformers. and they're just not doing it.
No. Nope.
It's crazy, man.
It's just like our internet system is way behind everybody else's.
And we could, I mentioned this last week, we could be doing this too with hot water panels on the roof, especially for people that have hot water tanks. I actually have when I rehabbed my house 20 years ago, I wanted to use the most efficient, I went with low flow toilets, low flow water, low flow shower, everything. I had a propane dryer, propane heat, backup heat, propane stove, range, and an on-demand hot water heater. My hot water heater is tankless. It's the most efficient there is. But unfortunately, tankless water heaters are only something like, I don't know, maybe 5% of the ones in use in Vermont. Most people still have tank-style hot water heaters, which is perfect to connect to a hot water tank on the roof, or a hot water stoller. And on a day like today, man, you could bank enough hot water for 3 friggin' days for free, It's crazy, man. We're just not doing it. We could, but we're not. And it's funny, too, They're still going after Trump. It's like, it's like Moby Dick, man.
Well,
I've never seen anything like it.
I'm not going to cast any aspersions, but there is a local politician who can't get elected in a district where he's obviously the smartest person, and there is a reason for that. It means you've just been a prick to everybody, and that's why. No names mentioned here.
Yeah, well, it's called karma, man. If you're a dick to people on the way up, they'll be a dick to you on the way down. You know what I mean?
And this is precisely what's happened to Trump. Whether he's good or bad, he's just been a jerk to everybody.
Well, he was a big mouth, but he got stuff done, and he couldn't be bought. That's the biggest thing. Now, we've only seen that a few times in my lifetime. Well, Philo saw it, but not really, because he was a little kid when Truman was president.
Oh, I was real little.
Yeah. Harry Truman could not be bought, okay? Once he became a senator, he said that's it. He couldn't be bought. It was just plain and simple. And Philo, could we take a 10-minute break?
Yeah, why is that?
Is it possible? I think she's sniffing around. I don't know. Come on up. We'll see how she does. Yes, just sit and behave. She's got OCD or something. Anyways, Truman could not be bought. So, they tried to get rid of him in 48, Philo. You knew that, right?
I heard about it, yeah.
They had a 4-way election, okay? They said, look, we'll run 4 different people. We'll run a Republican, a Southern Dixiecrat, and a Strom Thurmond, and an ultra-progressive Henry Wallace.
Oh,
okay?
I remember
so,
that, yeah.
Yeah, so you had three parts of the Democratic Party and one Republican, and they thought this will get rid of Truman for sure because the swamp didn't like him. He could not be bought. Okay, money just didn't faze him. He was a 33rd degree Mason, and so eventually he left office. He couldn't take it anymore, and Ike came in. That was pretty good. Ike was okay, but he was swayed by the Dulles brothers, and that's when we started having our overseas CIA adventures, starting with Iran.
Yeah, he was a good man that they manipulated him and they ruined him, which is too bad.
And they ran a lot of crap through the VP's office through Nixon.
Oh yeah, Eisenhower didn't like him.
Well, yeah.
He chose him for the same reason Reagan chose Bush, and that was to win.
Exactly.
And that's what the two parties do now, Steve. They don't represent us. They run to win, and that's
So
it. That's their agenda.
Yeah. In 1960, along comes JFK, and what did he want to do? JFK wanted, like Lincoln. Lincoln did with the greenbacks. See, here's the thing: when the government creates money, the U.S. Treasury, when the government creates money, they spend it into existence. Okay. When the Federal Reserve creates money, which is neither federal nor has any reserves, a private banking cartel, when the Fed creates money, they lend it into existence, okay? And so JFK came along and he said, look, we're going to go back to Treasury notes, silver certificates, and we're going to have the Treasury print money and bypass the Fed, all right? And he wanted to get our advisors out of Vietnam. He wanted to talk to the Russians. He wanted to put a man on the moon in 10 years. They laughed at that one, too. I mean, sure, it's the same thing with energy independence. We can get energy independence in 10 years, maybe 20 years, just like we went to the moon. But it's not going to happen overnight. JFK didn't come along and say, oh, we're going to send that Mercury capsule up to the moon. No, it took 10 years. And so what happened to JFK? Man, bang, they whacked him in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, with an Italian rifle.
Yeah.
If you believe that,
the lone gunman.
If you believe that, you'll believe anything.
Yeah, they sort of tried selling that lemon to the American public. So, okay, then we had Nixon. And, and by the way, Steve Bannon is on trial right now, today, as we speak, for contempt of Congress, okay? Now, do you remember when the last person was convicted of contempt of Congress, Philo?
No, but it seems like a reach. Who was it?
It was G. Gordon Liddy in 1974.
Yes, I remember that, the Watergate thing.
That was the last person convicted of contempt of Congress. So Nixon came along, and he got caught doing the dirty tricks that they all do. And so then we got Jimmy Carter. Same thing with Carter. Carter was not a swamp creature, born-again Christian. He didn't care about money. He wasn't real big on the power trip or an ego trip. Oh, they didn't like him because he was a born-again Christian, mister. Oh, his sister was a preacher. His brother was a drunk. Oh, they hated him, man.
Yeah. Did you ever taste that Billy beer?
Oh, horrible.
It's worse stuff, worse than skunk piss.
Truly horrible. But Billy made some money.
Yeah, and he got hauled in front of Congress, too,
Oh, yeah.
For dealings that they thought were with Muammar Gaddafi.
Gaddafi in Libya.
But there was nothing to it.
No. It was his buddy Muammar, as he said. So then we had Carter. He couldn't be bought off. So then we got Reagan. Reagan, whatever you say about Reagan, he got the country back on track.
He also
started drilling here, and
he also sent a whole bunch of us shop workers out the door.
Yeah, and then we had the Iran-Contra stuff again. Running stuff out of the vice president's office with Bush.
Yep.
The Iran-Contra, that whole deal, man, it was crazy. But that's what the deal he made to get our hostages back. But anyways, finally they get rid of Reagan, they get rid of Bush. And then we got, and we have, good grief, Clinton, he was a pragmatist. And then, Bush, who was out to lunch. And then Obama.
We have to put food on our family.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and Obama, our first communist president.
Well, you know that with W, he wasn't running the country. Cheney was.
Exactly. Again with the VPs, dude. Yep. So, anyways, now they put up that dog butt Hillary, and sure enough, man, Trump got elected, and Trump's the same as friggin' Harry Truman. He could not be bought. He wanted what was best for this country, and he didn't care whose toes he stepped on or whose feelings he hurt. So, anyways, here we go. Look at this front page. Cheney raises a process of witness tampering. And now they're after the Secret Service. Oh, they didn't keep their records. Well, they did keep their records. They have to, you fool. They're just trying to gin up this crap. And here it is right here. Again, from the front page. They're like Captain Ahab, man. If you've never read the book Moby Dick or seen the movie with Gregory Peck, you have to, man. It's Moby Trump. It's the great white whale. Listen to some of this stuff. It's crazy. It's like, oh man. Okay. That witness, principal statute, Cassidy Hutchison, an aide to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Now, we told you about her last week. You can't reach in front. You'd need 10-foot arms to try and reach the wheel of either presidential limo. It was all hearsay. The principal statute, Governor witness tamperings, is prosecutors must generally establish that the offender knowingly sought to influence, delay, or prevent a witness testimony. So they can't prove it, obviously. They haven't mentioned who the witness is or anything. That witnesses have described being contacted or that Trump is said to have a keen interest in their testimony could be damaging to him. It's perhaps not surprising. Special counsel Robert Mueller, another guy who was out to lunch. My God, you think Biden's out to lunch? Remember when they had Mueller in front of Congress?
Yep.
He couldn't answer anything. He was like a deer in the headlights, man. He was past his prime. He was friggin' burnt toast. Mueller's Russia investigation documented numerous instances in which Trumpers' associates made contact with people they feared could harm them. It's like, here we are. So they mentioned Roger Stone. Longtime Trump confidant Roger Stone was indicted and convicted of witness tampering charges that accused him of urging a witness to do a Frank Pentangelini, a reference to the Godfather movie.
Gonna make him an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah, who lies to lawmakers. He said that he was joking. He was talking. He wasn't witness tampering. You know who he was talking to with Philo?
No.
Texting with?
No.
A comedian, a radio host on some New York City radio program. A comedian. An old buddy of his. And he even mentioned the fact that if you don't do what we say, we're going to get you and your little dog too, a reference to the Wizard of Oz. And they tried to make that one stick. It's like, oh my God, you people are sick. In addition to Mueller's report, Mueller's report cites an account from Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. That guy is a slippery mofo, man. Who search warrants. Trump told him to hang in there and stay strong. Oh, wow. You're facing questions and a possible indictment. Your buddy tells you to hang in there and stay strong, and that is witness tampering? This is insanity, man. It's crazy. It's nuts. And you know what? Nobody cares because we're getting screwed, man. We're getting screwed at the pump. And and speaking of which, you're getting screwed. Here we are, some of the hottest weather of the year, Philo. And if you want to go for a dip in Lake Champlain, guess what?
It's probably too polluted.
All the beaches are closed.
Yes, and you can thank all their microbreweries. All of their lovely, what they call snowflake microbreweries that they've been building for years and years and years.
Overwhelming the sewage treatment plant.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful snowflakes we have over in Chittenden County.
And here we are. BLM flag again. Oh, the students have been the adults in the room. Fairfax students voted to erect a BLM flag. The board voted to remove it. Well, because the Supreme Court decision came down and said, look, if you're going to have one flag for one group, you have to have another flag for another group. And in Boston, they didn't want a Christian flag being raised over the school, so they just said, that's it. American flag, state flag, no other flags.
That should be pretty much it.
Think?
In my opinion, that's it.
Either you do it for everybody or you do it for nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
The only flags we ever saw, like for example, when I was in grade school, there was a UN flag. It was state and federal, and that was it.
Yeah, for like UN Children's Day or whatever.
Yeah.
And what these kids don't get, it's like Black Lives Matter is a saying, but the group is a con job, man.
Yes, it is.
And equality is in our Constitution, okay? Equity is a commie term, a socialist term, where you promise people equity, yet once the apparatchiks get in power, you have a smaller number of elites running the country than you did when you had elected representatives.
Yep.
So they promise you everything, and they give you arpège, Philo.
Which is just what the Bolsheviks did.
Oh, exactly.
The one good thing the Bolsheviks did for the Russian people, though, is they got them out of World War I. And Kerensky, if Kerensky had done that, he'd have stayed in power, and the Bolsheviks wouldn't.
And they brought up the literacy rate. There's a few things they did good.
Yep.
And they had a hell of a space program, I'll tell you. So they had almost as many German scientists as we did. And look at this. Biden Biden goes to Saudi Arabia. This is a tongue bath, man. It's a tongue bath by the reporters. Biden's trip aimed at reassuring the Middle East. And you can see, if you go on YouTube has the clip, you can see French President Macron saying, hey, look, I've talked to the Saudis and they're at like full production, they're not going to do anything. So he's like chiding Biden to like, hey, maybe you'd better open up some U.S. oil and refineries. But does Biden listen? Oh, no. Oh, and here's some Olympic gold from 1912. Did I mention this too, Philo?
Not yet.
My buddy's Aunt Margaret, her maiden name was Margaret Francis, I think. But she won a medal in the Stockholm Olympics of 1912 for like javelin, women's javelin.
Wow.
But anyways, they've recently reinstated Jim Thorpe as the sole Olympic winner.
Yes, I heard that.
Of the pentathlon and the decathlon in Stockholm. And here's this picture right here. Jim Thorpe was an Indian, boys and girls.
Yes.
He was raised in an Indian school, and he was quite the athlete.
Very much so.
And mind you, when we moved to Pennsylvania, right, Philo? We rented a house in a township. You have townships, school districts, and counties. It's a weird system in PA. But we rented a house in Penn Forest Streams, and the nearest like little city, about the size of Newport, was Jim Thorpe. And it was right down the hill, and that was the end of the line. That's where the Lehigh Canal started, because there was a coal mine there since the 1700s. So they used to they made the canal go all the way from Mock Chunk is what they called it. The canal went all the way from Mock Chunk down to Philadelphia, and they would bring barges. And that, you like riding bicycles, man, that place is great. They have a bike path now that goes along the canal all the way from Philly up into Mock Chunk. It's a fantastic trail, dude. And so anyways, they have a sarcophagus, a memorial outside of Jim Thorpe, the city, which used to be called Mock Chunk. And all the locals there complained that since the 50s, they said, we changed our name. We were supposed to get a sports auditorium, an Olympic museum, and all this other stuff, and all we got was a dead Indian. And I'm all like, well, who promised you this stuff? And they would never say, It was always they promised us the sports things, and they never came up. Oh, and this is the anniversary of Teddy Kennedy's Chappaquiddick swim meet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he took Mary Jo Kopechne for a ride, went off a bridge. He was so cocked he couldn't see.
He blacked out is what happened.
Probably, yeah.
When they kept asking him questions and he goes, I don't recall, it's because he was in a blackout.
And he could have, here's the irony, he could have gone to a house. The light was on outdoors. He could have walked to the house, called the people. They estimated that she lived inside that car in an air bubble. She lived inside that car for probably a half hour to an hour. So if they had gotten people up there, they could have rescued her. But no, he was more worried about his Kennedy name and his position as a senator. So he stumbled and bumbled around for 24 hours before turning himself in so he could sober up. It's crazy.
Yep, so much for that.
Yeah. Oh, and they have this thing now. There's a program on TV the other night, Philo, about frogging with a PH. Frogging is where somebody else lives in your house and you don't know it.
Wow.
And this happened to a friend of mine, right? Well, my aunt owns the house now. It's an old salt box house built in 1776 in Lunenburg. And we had a cabin up in the woods that we used to camp out in on the weekends. Well, this puke Ed Gagney, I think he's dead now. He was a real odd duck. But anyways, he quit high school. And what he used to do is he'd sneak into Bradstreet's house during the day, right? And he'd sneak in the house, he'd come in through the basement, he'd go to Mrs. Bradstreet's freezer, pull out a steak, thaw the steak out in the oven, cook the steak, have a baked potato, a bunch of beans. Stella, come here. Come here, baby. You come sit with me. You're going to get in trouble. And so drove Mrs. Bradstreet crazy, Philo. She's like, I knew I had enough, this and that, and I had a whole bag of potatoes, and it's like, where'd all the string beans go, and how come I'm missing a full roast? Because whatever, he'd take other stuff, too, to bring up to the cabin with him to have for dinner later. But in the meantime, he was taking a shower, he was washing and drying his clothes. It almost drove her crazy, Terry. She didn't know if she was coming or going. She thought for sure it was in her head until finally, I don't think they caught him, but they realized that somebody, I don't know what happened, he left a clue somehow, and they caught him frogging, and they tightened up the house so he couldn't break in anymore. It's insane. And here we are. This is from today's paper. Study shows COVID learning gap narrows. Now, who did the study, you say, Philo, right?
Probably some major corporation that plans to make $1 billion or $2 billion on this.
The study was done by the NWEA, a nonprofit research group that administers the standardized school tests.
Now we're getting somewhere.
So the company that administers the tests says, we're doing great, mister. Yeah, those kids are catching right up, aren't they? Yeah, well, guess what? Because of this social emotional education and stupid crap, the USA is now 27th worldwide in educational scores. I think we're behind like every major industrialized country, Terry.
And isn't it funny, the top education system is in Finland?
Yeah, because they don't spend a bunch of money on a military driving around doing nothing.
Ed, you know what else, too? I was watching this documentary on Finland, and
Yep.
their kids do almost no homework.
Yeah.
Almost none. They let the kids go home and be kids.
I used to, I don't know, I don't want to make this all about me, but I used to do that because I would always do my homework either going to school the next morning on the bus or do it on the way home on the bus, because I lived out in the boonies, and it was like a half hour to 40-minute bus ride for me after dropping everybody off. Come here, you don't need to look out the window. Come here, baby cakes. You are a nosy little boy.
That sounds real good.
Damn it. Come here. You jerk. Come here. Get up here. She saw something outside the window, of course. Sit. Anyways. So, and another thing, too. You know, I'm all for manufacturing to make pharmaceutical drugs here in the USA. Trump wanted some money to do that. Oh no, mister, we can't do that. Rah, rah, rah. That's, using government money to blah, blah, blah. Oh, so, excuse me, we can't do that under Trump because he might get the credit for bringing manufacturing back to America. But suddenly we have no problem with $52 billion to build a chip plant. Can you say corporate welfare, boys and girls?
We had one of those that was supposed to go in Springfield, and the voters didn't want it because it was extremely noisy, and it smelled bad.
Noisier than that yappy dog?
Well, they did a study on it, and they were going to put it right in the middle of the industrial park in North Springfield, but they said with all the trucks and the noise that this plant would make, it was going to be so bad. And there was a lot of houses right around there, too.
Look at the IBM fab plant over in Essex.
Mm-hmm.
They still make chips over there, and they do some advanced work too. But they have their own sewage treatment plant and everything, and still they dump. I have a card here where they dump cadmium, nickel, all this stuff, and it goes right into the Winooski River. But whenever I ask somebody at the state about it, they just say, "Oh, well, the Winooski River has the assimilative capacity to, to dilute pollution."
That's what they gave you, Steve.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, oh man, you heard of the magic bus, Philo?
Yeah, the Who.
Yeah.
1966.
Well, in Egypt we have the tragic bus.
Uh-oh, what happened here?
At the bottom of the article it says traffic accidents kill thousands every year in Egypt, which has a poor transportation safety record.
No kidding.
Oh, I wonder why.
Do you know in Cairo at night, none of the drivers keep their lights on? This is not a joke because my wife's sister married a guy from Cairo.
Yeah.
And everybody just throws their garbage out the window at night. In the morning, they come on, they collect it all. That's like a job.
It's crazy.
And nobody has their lights on at night in their car.
And you would think, with a country that has a sizable portion of their income dedicated to tourism, that they would want to have a safe transportation system.
One would think that.
Yeah. Cairo, passenger bus slammed into a parked trailer truck on a highway in southern Egypt Tuesday, killing 23 people and injuring 30. So we're talking 53 people on the bus at least? I wonder how many didn't get injured. The crash took place in the province of Minya. The bus was headed to Cairo. The truck driver was changing tires on the roadside when the bus crashed into it.
Oh, goodness.
Now, again, you think the guy that was changing tires on his truck had four-way flashers? Oh, what's four-way flashers, I wonder, Philo?
1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, come on. If you see somebody with your flashes on, you avoid them. There's a reason for that. Oh, that's right. It's a third world country. They don't care about flashers. They don't care about taillights. They don't care about brake lights. Nope. It's crazy. Oh, here we are. European Union proposes $512 million for procurement to refill their arms supplies after they've given all their other crap to the mad Ukrainians. And here we are. Get ready, Bal, as Biden says. Not pal, Baal, as in the Molech worship from the Old Testament. Get ready, Bal. You're gonna in for a problem, as Joe Biden said. But here we go. Are you ready to be scared, Philo?
Yep, very, very afraid.
The variants are coming. The variants are coming. The variants are coming. Be afraid. Be afraid.
You know one thing that really surprised me? Yahoo News is usually very liberal and tries to scare everybody.
Yeah.
Well, a few days ago, they put out one about this new variant, which they've got now more letters in C3PO and R2D2. But they said that this new variant would cause more cases, but don't disrupt your life because it isn't going to be horrible. And I said, wow, Yahoo News said that?
Oh, I was surprised. Yahoo News is usually pretty good. Yep. And here we are with an article. The news division printed this up for me. It seems the CDC, you can see this at Children's Health Defense, or CHD.org. It's Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s website.
Oh, he's a good guy. I like him.
Yeah, well, it seems the CDC has been using weekly reports to spread disinformation, Philo.
Not the CDC. You're joking. Not those guys.
Yeah.
Ask them about breastfeeding sometime way back in the 50s, and they told women don't do it. Formula was better.
The primary vehicle for the timely, reliable public health info and recommendation is the MMWR, or Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. And they go on to tell you how it works and stuff like that. The media summarizes the findings in articles for the public. They often leave out or misrepresent important details. And this article details how they do that. And Dr. Birx, that scarf lady, she's a deep state POS, man. Her book that just came out recently, her book details how she misled the public. Her and Fauci got together to basically to sink Trump. And here's some charts here. This is what kills me. If they published these charts, they would show that the thing wasn't dangerous to begin with. Now, the chart starts in March 22nd of 2020, which is the beginning. It was they shut everything down on St. Patty's Day in 2020, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So it hits bottom. The cases hit bottom March, April, May. The next segment is, the next chunk is right next to it, is May. And look at the case rate, Philo.
Yep.
That goes all the way up today. And the case rate has been that low, and still they were scaring the crap out of everybody.
Of course. It's part of, it used to be called the New World Order, now it's called the Great Reset.
Yeah, or what did Freeze or Gies, whatever he's, the advisor to Biden called it, the New Liberal Order.
Well, guess what? That's who's pushing it, is all the liberals.
It's crazy.
Isn't it? It's all the liberals pushing this stuff.
Yeah, and I was once a liberal, but I'm not a globalist.
Oh, no, we were independent progressives. And
Yeah.
now they've hijacked that, so we don't even have that anymore.
And the change in the daily growth rate. Anyways, if you get a chance, I could go through this whole article, but it would take up more than the rest of the show. And it's just insane. The article was written by Madhava Sethi, an MD. He's a senior science editor for The Defender, Children's Health Defense, chd.org. Bobby Kennedy Jr. has been going on about this stuff for ever and ever and ever, and the relationship with Big Pharma and Fauci and doing all their bidding. And here we are. Inequities in the spotlight as the Berlin climate talks. Now, they want us, Philo, to pay them. They want the developed countries to pay the undeveloped countries $100 billion a year in climate restitution, Philo. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could put that on camera. I think it looked like Philo was giving us the peace sign minus his index finger.
We're number one. We're number one. You could be number two.
Yeah, inequities. Nations urged to stay on track despite the war fallout.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the UN secretary criticized countries for continuing to play the blame game instead of taking responsibility and urged rich nations to keep the promises they made to the poor. Developing countries are still waiting for the rich to provide $100 billion each year, a target they were meant to reach by 2020. At the minimum, stop paying lip service to the $100 billion a year pledge.
Okay, Steve, we got last but not least.
Unbelievable. Well, we got through a lot of news today, I guess. Well, last but not least, GOP candidates blame primary failures on fraud. Well, if you read the article, it's actually, no, they're actually having primary wins. And like I said, they're state by state, they're taking these voting machines to court. Anyways, yeah, these machines, they suck. They're programmable. We need to go to paper ballots like they do in France and Canada. If Canada can do it, we can do too. Okay, last but not least, survey, no big issues with the 2020 drop boxes. Well, they're answering questions that weren't asked, Philo. They're saying that none were stolen or damaged, these drop boxes. Well, nobody asked if they were stolen. They weren't stolen. They had tons of extra ballots dumped in them. Yeah. So the reporter basically asked them if they were crooked. And you know what, Philo? They said, no, everything's fine. That's a real good investigative reporter, isn't it? We had the same problem in North Troy. We said, all you got to do is read the water and sewer rules, and you'll tell it we were right. Well, no, we asked the trustees, and they said, you guys were wrong. Well, did you read the rules? It's only 3 pages. Well, no, we didn't. Well, once again, you wasted a perfectly good hour of your life watching this stupid show. Hopefully, Philo can edit out the yappy dog. Sorry about that. So until next week, we'll see you again next week. Inshallah, good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. Until then, get down on your hands and knees in the men only mosque, sniff the bum and the guy in the man dressed in front of you, head east towards the meteorite in Mecca and say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Akbar.
Look at this creepy. That's from last week. Gets off his bike, starts sniffing a little girl's hair. Here we go again. Give me a little girl. Let me snip your hair. I'm the president. I'm a greasy old zipperhead. Pervert. I'm a boy. Let me snip your hair. I'm snip your hair from Delaware.
Kaylee.
What?
And I had a terrible headache. Excuse me, a terrible headache.
Yeah.
And,
It's a very old head. No wonder it aches.
I had a terrible headache. This is years ago. And I did a very stupid thing. When I came to office, I reversed the policies of my predecessor.
What?
Respond to the pandemic, including donating more than 1 million doses of COVID-19
What?
to the West Bank and Gaza.
I'm sure I'm driving this thing, all right? Hunter's behind me. That's the way it always works. We're a team. We're like a mullet. Business in the front, party in the back.
So we're all in agreement here. Keep it in the family. Hunter Biden 2024. The slogan could be the Biden you can trust to make it to the top of the stairs.
In the western mountains of China, and for global initiative, the global infrastructure, we had a good discussion. Is this inconsistent with who we are? No one's ever wondered if I mean what I say. The question is, I sometimes say all that I mean. I just answered your question. Do I regret it? I don't regret anything that I said.
Right? She's right. How am I supposed to get anything done with all these things happening? Trying to make gas prices go down, but they're going up. That's opposite, man. And get the global warming thing happening, but it's too hot. It's too hot. And what happened? J-Lo just married Ben Affleck? Who saw that coming? Right? I thought he was gay married to Matt Damon.